Welcome, everybody. This is Kelly Fasterling with eXp Realty. I am absolutely honored today to have Miss Stephanie Gilezan with me. Stephanie has an amazing background. She's transacted over 10,000 real estate and business transactions across the United States, multiple countries. She was the managing broker for the state of Kentucky, responsible for the growth of the eXp commercial division, and she has just an utter passion to disrupt and improve this industry. She has heart and she's absolutely on fire. So, Stephanie, welcome today.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It's an honor to be here.
Well, you began your career at the ripe age of 21. Talk to me. How did you get started in this business?
So I was literally pre-law in college and set to become a lobbyist. Ever since I was a little kid, I just wanted to be, a lobbyist. I love to argue, improve points and, to change whatever's happening for the good. And so when I was in college, I got involved in some of the rural areas of Kentucky were considered dry counties, meaning, they didn't have alcohol sales. And so, as a college project, I was looking at, well, what would happen if we took some of these counties, made them wet? Would we see changes happen? And so, in college, as with a large group of people, a professor, attorneys, and so forth, we set out to do just that. And then we saw everything flourish. So then I realized, okay, wait a minute now, who's doing all of this? You took blank canvases of land, turned them into, growth where there was industry, there was housing coming up, there was restaurants wanting to come in. That's what got me interested in experiencing what real estate could be. And so I pivoted. I put law school on hold and decided to get my real estate license right as I was graduating college. And here I am, 45, and have never been to law school and probably won't go. I love real estate. I think a lot of us get into real estate not growing up saying that's our dream,
Right.
but it works.
It does. It does. So, when you started then in real estate, where did you start? How did you start?
Oh goodness. So I, fell in love with the whole commercial realm of real estate development and so forth. So what I wanted to do was to put my license with a commercial brokerage. And so I had spoken with several of them and really was shunned away from it. It was an old boys club. It was an old boys network. Seeing this female come in at, a child age, so to speak, there wasn't much desire to bring me on and coach me and teach me up. They didn't put a lot of thought into it. And so, in the state of Kentucky, when you get your real estate license, you have 30 days to put your license with a brokerage. And so two of my friends that I went to high school with, I remembered their father was a broker. And so I reached out to them and said, look, is your father still in the business? They said, yes. I picked up the phone, gave him a call, went to work at his firm. And, he was very honest in saying, there's not much that I'm going to be able to teach you as it relates to commercial real estate, because that's not what he did. He sold, resale houses for a living and had a great business doing it. And so I went there. It was a very small independent brokerage. 6 months into that, I realized that I wanted my own company. So I actually started my own company at the age of 21 and became my own independent broker.
Okay, so you didn't have to have the kind of the normal 2 years that we have to have in Colorado.
I did. But I met a woman along the way who had a broker's license. She wasn't utilizing it. She was doing a couple deals a year.
Okay.
And I went to her and I said, listen, I want to start my own real estate company, but I need a broker's license in order to do that. I haven't been in the business long enough. I got 2 more years to go before I'm eligible. Would you consider this for this amount of money? And so we went into business, and basically, she was my broker for my real estate company for the first 2 years, and it worked.
Okay. Now, how did you launch into the commercial space then?
Well, again, a massive passion, not only what I learned in college, but, there was so much growth happening amongst Louisville, Kentucky, where I'm from, and surrounding areas. And so what I set out to do was I didn't want to be that real estate agent that listed and sold houses, one-off clients. So I really sought out those that were doing multiple business. Maybe they were developers, right? And so I just pushed and looked for those type of clients. And, obviously they saw me. They knew there was no way I had experience, but at the same time, what they saw was grit, right? It was, look, I'm going to show up every single week. I'm going to ask for their business consistently every single week. And eventually somebody's going to trust me to take that business. And that's exactly what they did, Kelly, because they saw that I had the grit. I was relentless. And if I was going to treat them that way, they knew that if they put their real estate in my hands, that I was going to do the same to all those potential buyers that existed out there. And so I immediately started working with developers, and I immediately started doing land deals, large land deals, industrial, commercial, all set for development, manufacturing coming into Kentucky. And so that's how I paved my way, to what I do now.
Okay. Now, you were at some point in the scheme, you were your own managing broker, then you were introduced to eXp Realty.
Yes.
What about eXp Realty would intrigue a broker owner to come in to a larger brokerage?
Well, to be quite honest, the first call I ever got about eXp, it was very, very, yes, I'm not interested, and hung up the phone. Okay. And the reason why that is because, I had another, so I started in the business in 1999. I grew a very successful brokerage. I actually was sold some great Kool-Aid in 2004, where if my company became part of a national company, that then we would elevate. And I believed that. And so 2004, I became a part owner of a franchise affiliated with a large brand. That model, very successful. We grew it. We had a couple hundred agents in a matter of an 18-month period. But what I found there is it didn't elevate the Gilezan name at all. It actually kind of got lost in the mix of it. And it wasn't the answer to what I needed. And so in 2008, I sold out of that franchise and went back to being independent. So when I got that eXp call, it sounded a whole lot like what I went through in 2004. However, I have this rule. I have a rule. I might say no in the very first initial call, because if you catch me extremely busy, I'm not even going to be focused on that. So you got to call the person back. And thank God that that person called me back and said, look, I know you were busy when I caught you the first time, but we're going to be in Louisville. We want to sit down with you for 20 minutes and we want to show you something. And being the smart businesswoman that I've been, you got to walk through the door. You got to walk through the door and you got to see what's on the other side. And here's why. Even if it's nothing of interest for me, I need to know about it because other people are going to find out about it. I don't want to find out about it when it's all, already on its path. I want to know about it up front so that I could sit with my agents and plan what the next 5 years was going to look like. So I allowed them to come by, look at it for 20 minutes. And within those first 20 minutes, I realized it was not what I got involved in 2004. It was the exact opposite. It was actually what I was looking for in 2004. How could Gilezan become such a local powerhouse and expand to become national and expand and become international? And that's what eXp was for me at that moment. It was those answers. It was that ability to expand past our normal network. And so that's why I continued to look at it. I didn't say yes that day, but I looked at it in a way of more seriousness of, I got to understand exactly what this is. All of us that have been independent brokers or just mega agents that have run successful real estate teams, you've always got to ask yourself, what is your 5-year plan? Are you going to have an exit strategy, right? Or how are you going to scale this in a way that is constantly staying relevant and being able to compete with everybody else? And so eXp for me was a way for us to not only scale, but I looked at my agents that were so loyal to me. And I finally had the way, I finally could affiliate with a company that gave me the buying power to provide them all the tools necessary for them to also stay relevant, right? For the next 5 years plus. And so that's what EXP was for me.
Right, right. Now, as you grew in then your business, you became the managing broker for the state of Kentucky. How
Yes.
did how did that come about, and why would you accept that role?
So originally, that was not in my plan at all. My plan was is I'm bringing my brokerage over to EXP. I am going to scale my team. I'm going to, do 10 times the production. I'm going to take 100 million a year and turn it into 500 million a year in transactions. Well, one of the things that was very apparent early on was that, I was a great broker. And when I was looking at the EXP model, not only was I bringing my agents with Gilezan Realty into EXP, but I also wanted to talk to my competitors in the marketplace because I knew a lot of them. I competed against them. I had friendships with them, and I wanted to show them this. And more, they kept saying, you need to be the broker. You need to be the broker. And at that time, I'd already been a principal broker, reliable managing broker for 20 years. Like I was ready to not have that role any longer. And so the vice president of EXP, the CEO of that time, and the president all got on a phone call with me and said, look, let's do it for short term. We get it. We're not going to get you for the long haul, but let's do it short term and let's just do this entire launch. And so that's what happened. I took the broker role just so because people asked me to. And so we did that. And, we took the state of Kentucky EXP at the time, I think it was 6 agents. We ended up becoming over 103 agents in 3 weeks. I only brought 26 with me, right? With my independent brokerage, but we grew to 103. And these were mega agents in the market of Louisville, Kentucky. And then slowly but surely that turned into 200 and then it turned into 300. And so that's how we grew it. And I stayed on as the managing broker for EXP in Kentucky for a solid 3 years.
Wow.
And I think it's been 1 year that I haven't been in that role, still extremely involved, right? But Elizabeth Monarch, who's phenomenal, is our managing broker in Kentucky, and Ben Schreiber, and they're doing a phenomenal job at it. And we're over 600 agents in just the state of Kentucky now.
Well, and when you look at these these big agents, what does EXP really have to offer them? They have solid businesses. They're doing very, very well. What would you say to them?
That's the whole thing is that, here's what I always say to everybody. If you have a solid business and you're not with EXP, you're still missing out, because that was me, Kelly. I didn't need a change. I was making all kinds of money off my agents. It was a successful brokerage. I didn't need to do anything, but I did need to do something, because you have to be able to pivot and to be able to, compete at these top levels. And so what EXP did for me in a matter of a handful of months was, I used to make money on 26 agents. Now I'm making money on over 700 agents across the United States and in multiple different countries. I have been able to expand the Gilezan team footprint outside of Louisville, Kentucky, and now have listings in over 36 states and 2 countries today, right? We've been able to expand my agents have access to so much more information. I have learned things that I had no idea that mega agents are doing in this industry, whether they're commercial or residential. I have learned, and still today tune in and learn from these agents so that I'm able to apply it into my business. Yes. And so that's what we've been able to do. And so, yes, I could have stayed on my own, but also I would have remained the prisoner of my business, right? Yes. What EXP has afforded me is a way to, yes, I'm still very much involved in transactions. I love transactions, but I'm not a prisoner to my business any longer.
Yeah. Well, and there's a power when you're at the top of the food chain and you're the one guiding everyone. to all of a sudden you're collaborating with people as good or even better than you. There's such a power to that.
There is a power to that, and the referral business that you're able to do. See, EXP, because we're all business partners, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what organization you're in. There's great downlines, all that good stuff. All of that's amazing. But
Mhm.
because we're all shareholders of this publicly traded multi-billion-dollar company with absolutely no debt, we want all of us to win, and we do that together. And see, that was probably the most devastating and the most the reason why I sold my piece of my franchise back in 2008. I thought being affiliated with a national company back then was going to do all these things for me, but it wasn't true. Independently owned and operated franchises, I'm not going to say the brand, but independently owned and operated franchises is what most real estate brokerages are made up of. Okay. There's
Right.
very few one brokerage, no matter what state, no matter what country you're in, like EXP. Okay. We're
Okay.
one brokerage. We're not that franchise concept. When I owned that franchise, what devastated me and what was so disappointing was how people didn't want to help each other. But you got to think, you put them all in the same brokerage market center, four brick walls, and they're all in there. And you ask them to teach and collaborate with one another and bring what works best to list houses or sell commercial real estate. They learn very quickly they don't want to breed their own talent in their own backyard. And that was what was so disappointing, because that was what I believed was going to happen. Instead of just a Stephanie Gilezan bringing the idea machine to the table every single day of the week, there was going to be other people that did the same thing, and they didn't want to. They didn't want to breed their own talent. But at EXP, you've got people in 50 states, 24 different countries, and they're pouring into one another every single day. And I've applied things in my business that I've learned from California, from Mexico, from Canada, from New York, from Minnesota, from all these different places, because that's what these agents are doing. And that's why we all elevate and become
Mhm.
more successful. And even if we come to the table as a mega awesome agent already, we become even better because there are things we don't know. There are.
There always are. And we're not their competition in Canada or
That's
Mexico or
right.
California. So sharing
We're
helps a
business
lot.
partners.
Business
Yeah.
partners. Yeah. Now, you went on in your career here to become the Director of Operations and Growth at EXP Commercial. Talk to me about that launch, about that growth, and about the potential for commercial inside this model, what that looks like for a commercial agent.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And so, Glenn Sanford nailed it in 2009 when he, started EXP Realty. He was looking to build a brokerage that was 100% agent centric, agent focused, agent led, agent owned, and agent ran. Okay. And that's why EXP Realty has had that success. And then you look at the commercial brokerage space, and it's just dinosaur esque old school. It's like me at 21 walking into all those different commercial brokerages, and they looking me up and down going, yeah, right. There's the door, honey. See ya, see ya, whatever. And so with EXP Commercial, the goal was to disrupt, and is to disrupt, the commercial space in a way that it's never been. Let's give agents that opportunity, just like Glenn did on the residential side. Let's do the same thing in the commercial side, because the average commercial agent broker, you ask them what is their split, and they're on a 50-50. They're on a 60-40, maybe a 70-30. But when you say the word cap to them, they don't even know what that means. So what I say to them is, well, how much did you pay your brokerage last year? And I hear everything from 59,000 to 150,000 to 400,000 to people in the millions that they've paid to their brokerage to do commercial real estate.
Right.
So why not take what EXP Realty was built on and apply it to the commercial space and give them an 80-20 split with a cap, a $20,000 cap. And so for all those commercial people listening, that means when you make $100,000 in gross commission income, you're 100% at EXP. So you will never, when somebody asks you the question, how much did you pay your brokerage last year? You'll never say more than $20,000. 20,000, that's it. Then you have the ability, because we're that one national brokerage where we employ our brokers in all the states to be the brokers, you have the opportunity to use what's called license portability. And Kelly, most people don't understand license portability. They're like, what is she talking about? License portability, you all, is real. There are 7 turf states in the United States of America where you must have a license in order to do business in those states. But the rest of them have cooperative and physical location rules, meaning if your brokerage, your license is hung with, is open in those states, you get to go to those states and do deals. You get to still represent your client because our sponsoring broker at the state level will sign a form that allows you to keep that transaction. This is huge because there's no other model but like a CBRE Richard Ellis or a most of the commercials are also franchises, right? And so they're independently owned and operated models. So they can't even pull this off the way EXP Commercial has. And so when people say, I don't understand, Stephanie, how you all have business in 30 plus states, well, because EXP is open for business in all 50 states. We have a designated managing broker in all 50 states. And where those states allow license portability, which there's majority of them, all but 7, we can do business in those states. And it's legal, and we have the forms that our brokers sign that make it happen for us. So we're not referring deals away any longer. We're not losing our clients because we had to pick up the phone and find a commercial broker in the state of Louisiana to take over our deal. We get to keep that deal. We get to see it through to the end. We get to remain with that client without having the risk of somebody else upsetting them and losing them altogether. And the best part, we get to keep 100% of our money for doing that. That's it's huge.
Excellent. Well, and then other benefits to a commercial agent are some of the tools and then some of the passive.
Here's my favorite, Kelly. There is 87,000 EXP Realty agents, 87,000 whose primary business is residential. For commercial agents coming to EXP Commercial, even though we're 2 separate brokerages, they get to plug into those 87,000 residential agents who are doing tons of volume. See, that's the other thing about EXP. This is a volume. We have gone totally up every single year when it comes to production. So these people are selling a ton of houses. They've built the rapport with those clients. Well, when they start asking their clients, their past clients and future clients, do you have any commercial needs or any business opportunity needs? And the client's like, yes, you can solve for that. So these people these residential top agents are now the referral sources for our EXP commercial licensees. So whether they're new to the commercial business, which we have training for, or if they're experienced commercial and been in the business forever and they're senior at it, they now have a way to pick up additional revenue just off of the business partners at EXP Realty's residential clients. So that's been huge. But you're right. Publicly traded company, we earn stock. As we transact, we're earning stock, additional revenue. We have an ability to bring in other agents to the model. We earn revenue share. We share in all of the revenue that EXP Realty and EXP Commercial generates. And so, especially in a market where we're seeing a shift, we're seeing some pivot. I love these markets because I call them the markets of opportunity. It's where a lot of us that are very, very, honed in on exactly what's happening really are able to make a lot of money in these types of markets. But there's going to be some people that haven't learned those things. And so they're sitting there wondering, when is the next commission going to come in? Or, are they going to make less this year because the market is shifting? The answer is no, if you affiliate with the right company, because here, not only do you make revenue doing deals the way you've always done it, but you make revenue by earning stock, and you make revenue by sharing in the revenue that's coming in. And so commercial agents now have that ability, just like EXP Realty agents have had for 9 years.
Well, and your branding Gilezan Global. You've
Yes.
talked a little bit about being able to do real estate in multiple states. You've talked a little bit about potentially building team in multiple states. Talk to me about as you moved from your own brokerage to this concept of creating Gilezan Global and what that's done for you.
Absolutely. And, so before my team, we all resided in the state of Kentucky. We all felt like we had to be sitting in the same brick and mortar office in order to be a team. And so we were mastering this market of Kentucky and Indiana, which is also where I hold a license. Well, because of EXP and us being open for business in all 50 states as one brokerage, you now get to find and grow with people throughout the country and the 24 countries that we're open in. And so now my team, I have team members that reside in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York, Florida. We're in Kentucky, Indiana, obviously, but Ohio, Tennessee, Kansas, California. And so Gilezan is not just a Kentucky team any longer. We are actually spread out throughout the United States and multiple countries, especially where we need boots on the ground to do these large commercial deals and these portfolio exits that we do. And so now our team meetings happen in the EXP world or on Google Meets or on Zoom. And we are tackling all these different markets. And so that's what the ability is to not just be where you reside, but to have the ability to expand your team. And so, Gilezan Global's 10 people today. We're not looking to be the biggest team. That's not our goal. But if we needed a team member that resided in all 50 states, we have the ability to do that. And so our growth is now endless. The growth of our team is now endless. And to be able to create these partnerships in other countries like Mexico and France and Canada and Portugal, that's what it means to go from, hey, I was just a little girl in the state of Kentucky, right? Who would have thought it, right? If somebody said to me, Stephanie, in 5 years from now, 5 years ago, if somebody said to me, in 5 years from now, you're going to run a global real estate team, you're going to have 1 billion in listings, I would have been like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. But here it is, not even 5 years later. And that's exactly what we've done.
The opportunity has just become endless.
Yes.
Now, your passion, your mission is to disrupt, to improve this industry. And you've done it in multiple ways. Talk to me about a couple of those where you've personally had an influence on this industry.
I think that every single day, every day and literally maybe 6 days a week, I get messages from other women in the commercial space in this industry that say, thank you for what you're doing. Because, hey, there's nothing like, I'll never forget. I always tell people, I don't have a chip on my shoulder from being told no so many times when I was trying to enter this business. I don't. But what I do have is a fire in my belly to make sure that everyone out there understands that women have a place in this business too, as it relates to commercial real estate. 100%, we have a place. That fire is in my belly. Last year, I received 2022 Globe Street's Woman of Influence for what we're doing and I say we because it's not me, it's we. It's a lot of us in this industry, making sure that everyone knows they have a place. But even for the juniors out there, and that's what we call them in commercial real estate, new to the industry, we call them the juniors. Whether you're male or female, even the juniors have a hard time coming into this business. And so one of the things you've got to make sure of is that all of us that know and understand how this industry works is that we do as much as we can to continuously share it, share out our knowledge, share out our confidence, share out our systems as to how we're able to compete at such a high level. And that's what we do. So it's not just woman focused, it's everyone that wants to break into that space is focused. And so there's so many great people out there that's what we're doing. I do a podcast called CRE Power Hour, and that's what I'm trying to do is just give people, the mindset to know that you can in fact compete in this industry. But I think too, that's why I held on being, or took the broker position because I love pouring into people. And I don't know everything, you all. I am not here as an expert. But what I do know is that I can fire anybody up. And if we can get excited enough about anything, we will together become successful. And so that's what we do through these masterminds, but not to turn anyone away. Everybody has a spot at the table, as long as sometimes you push over the person sitting there and say, look, I'm coming in too, right? We don't trample anybody. We just, move our way into it. So we take our seat at that table too. So that's what I try to do every day, is just inspire that. And whether it's residential or commercial, to make sure that anybody that wants to be in this industry, that we have enough for them to plug into.
Right. Right. Well, and you told on our last training, because you're part of our leadership team here at the Freedom Team, and you told the story of grit, of how you started with your first commercial deal. Share that story for those starting out and saying, how do I get going?
So, again, I was 21. So I literally had nothing going for me other than the fact I could keep up and have that grit, right? I didn't have knowledge, hadn't done a deal, and I didn't even have my age going for me. Like, I couldn't even just pretend that I'd been in the industry because, I was 21 and I looked like I was a kid still. So, what I could do was show every single person, every single client that I was trying to land, that I had the work ethic, and that's what they were missing in their existing business. And so my very first client that I landed, and he was a big whale, and it took forever for me to get him. But I drove around one day and I kept seeing these signs, and it was his sign. And I knew if he could become my client, I was going to bust this wide open. This industry, I was going to bust wide open. And so every single Tuesday I showed up to his office. I mean, it was verge of EPO, maybe emergency protection. No, not really. But I showed up just saying, look, I see that you've got this. I see that you have this. I want to do your business. You need a real estate agent. This is why. Every week, no. But I kept going, because here's what you have to remember in this business. No is no for that moment. It doesn't mean no forever. Okay? And so every week I kept showing up. I got his business because he felt sorry for me, but also he's like, if you're going to work this hard for me, I want you going after these tenants. I want you going after these buyers. I want you going after people who own land that I want to purchase. I want you to never lose this work ethic of yours, because regardless of what I've never seen somebody just stick onto something. And that's what I did. And so he gave me, no telling, 7 no's in 7 weeks in a row, consistent, until he finally said yes. And so stick with that. No is no for that moment. No is no for that moment. Never no forever.
You are truly an amazing lady with grit, with inspiration. It's an honor to have you as part of our Freedom Team and the growth of what we're doing. Stephanie, before we close today, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Anybody that is in this industry or thinking about getting into real estate, I think, everyone's got to do their due diligence and they've got to look. But just remember, you are who you surround yourself with. And when you have raving fans and you're having great times and you can openly and freely hear other people's stories and share those, that is what makes success. And so for anybody in the industry, regardless of where you're at, look at who surrounds you and see if you can do better. That's what I always say to people. Not that people are bad, but a lot of people I've run into say, well, I give to so many people and I never receive anything in return. And I always say, you're with the wrong group of people then.
That is so true. So true. Well, thank you so very much for becoming part of our leadership here at the Freedom Team, for all you have done in this industry through commercial in Kentucky, and for just being who you are. You're an amazing, inspirational lady. Thank you.
You too, Kelly. Thank you.